Hey everyone, this is Mark Sargent, and this is also my take on Big Pharma. It's not going to be a very long one, but I get questions every once in a while about what my take is on the whole drug industry, and you probably caught some of it when I was doing my rant on autism. But I'd like to elaborate a little bit more because the pharmaceutical industry, but especially in the United States, is really just an extension of the drug industry in general. And by that I mean the illegal drug industry, which has been around for a very, very long time, well, relatively long time, because the illegal drugs are created mostly because of side effects and class action lawsuits and the potential to control them. So, for example, marijuana is still illegal, and we'll cover this in another section, still illegal in most of the United States because it's really tough to control because you can grow it almost anywhere. I mean, it is a weed after all. It's easy to grow. You can grow it in fields and lots of, the United States is a fairly good place to do it if you're going to do it. But that's illegal. Heroin is illegal. It used to be illegal. Cocaine is illegal. It used to be illegal, as we all know. In fact, I got a funny story. Um, there was everyone knows, or at least if you know anything about cool little urban myths, but it's not a myth. Coca-Cola, the United States soft drink, was called that because there used to be cocaine in the mix. It's a caramel flavored drink, but there was cocaine in the mix. And I remember working for a time and attendance company some years ago, and we had a lot of different clients from different sectors, manufacturing sectors all over the United States and different parts of the world. And one of them was a company called R.R. Donnelley, if I'm not mistaken. And I remember doing some tech support work with them and talking about the soft drink industry and blah blah blah. And I said, we talked about, it just came up in passing, Coca-Cola, and they used to have cocaine in the mix. He goes, "What are you talking about?" He goes, "It's still in there." I go, "What do you mean?" And he goes, "Well, we're one of the companies that creates the high fructose corn syrup for Coca-Cola." And I go, "Really?" And he goes, "Yeah." He goes, in fact, we use the coca plant when we're making some of this mix." And I go, "Really?" He goes, "Yeah, but we have to drain off most of the cocaine that's in it, and it's a low grade version of cocaine." He goes, "But we have tons of it, that we create, because Coca-Cola, as you know, generates. I mean, they make a lot of cans of soda." And I go, "Really? What happens?" He goes, "Well, it's considered a federally controlled substance. It's illegal, but the government allows us to do it. So we keep it in this giant vault. It's very high security, and the government comes in every month or so and takes out all this cocaine from this high fructose corn syrup, this residue. It's basically tons and tons of cocaine residue. Now, I'm pretty sure you could probably sell that on the street, which is why they take it. But the government takes it and supposedly destroys it. Now, do they destroy it or do they refine it and do something else with it? I don't know, but they literally picked it up from them all the time. Point being is that there's still below the FDA threshold, still cocaine in Coca-Cola today. You may not, it's very, very interesting. So anyway, that's on a side note. But Big Pharma, as you know, they've yeah, the pharmaceutical industry started out, they take risks like everybody else does. And some of their risks pay off and some of them don't. And we tend to take things too far in the United States. And so like for example, one that paid off and one that didn't would be the Viagra and all its clones that are out there today. I mean, Viagra started out, you can look it up, started out as a blood pressure medicine. And then there's this side effect. Again, it all comes down to the side effects. Because remember what I said where, everyone's got, not only are there 8 different blood types when it comes to human beings, but there's a lot of different body chemistry. You might be allergic to something. You might be deadly, very, very allergic to shellfish, but your friend may not. He could eat shellfish all day. So, and that has, there's all sorts of different things. So anyway, there was a side effect from this blood pressure medicine that gave men extended erections for no apparent reason. And so they cultivated that and found out exactly what component gave the erections. And now they sell it as a medicine. They sold the hell out of that thing, as you can imagine, because as we all know, especially with older guys, and it's not necessarily age, but it's also being with one partner. I'm not monogamous relationships. Hey, great, wonderful, but as a lot of people know out there that are married, been married for a length of time, the magic tends to fade away, and you're not as attracted. Your bodies change, both in the male and female side, and the chemistry is in a lot of cases not as strong. Now, some people say, no, 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 our love is forever and eternal, and yeah, it might be, but the sexual stuff is a little tougher. So there was a lot of men out there that weren't didn't fall out of love with their wives, but weren't as sexually attracted, and this drug changed that. This drug said, "Oh, you know what? You want an erection? Pff, here you go. Here's an erection, and you can have it for a short amount of time. You can have it for a length, certain." It was amazing, and of course, one of the side effects was, which they listed sort of as a benefit, because they have to list the side effects in drugs, is that you hear it in the commercials. If you experience an erection lasting more than 4 hours, it's like, oh, good lord, and it's like, yeah, 4 hours, I'll take that. So that side effect they actually used as a marketing ploy, which was really, really great. And again, one of the side notes of that drug was, and you guys will understand once I say it to you, was the venereal disease rate in senior citizens increased a great deal. And you're saying, well, that doesn't make any sense. I mean, what if it's a man and a wife? Why would that rate go? Because it's not the people that are just living at home as couples. It's all the assisted living places, which is basically assisted living places with a lot of elderly senior people. They it turned basically into a college dorm room again. So all of a sudden, all these guys, and it didn't take long for the word to spread, and the senior citizens, in their 70s and 80s and even into their 90s, they had no problem with this. It's like, yeah, let me get some before I leave this world. And so venereal disease increased like 400% or something like that, at least in senior citizens, especially living in retirement communities. Uh, anyway, but there's a darker side to this, and that is, again, we take it too far, and so big pharma tends to try to find a market for anything, whether there's a market for it or not, and they will sell it to you. Chris Rock did a wonderful skit. I'll see if I can dig it up. But he did a wonderful comedy routine where he was saying that the pharmaceutical industries will basically find a way to give you a pill. They'll just make up stuff. They forget about the normal things like blood pressure or heart conditions or cholesterol or anything like that. It's like, do you get tired during the day? Do, do you fall asleep at night? Do you get up in the morning? He goes, we got a pill for you. It's true. They will market anything they can to you, and but thank God, the only saving grace with the whole pharmaceutical industry is least as far as the system goes, is they have to list the potential side effects. And by that I mean, if you're testing the drugs on a whole bunch of people, certain doesn't matter. If you're like 1 in 1,000 people that has a blood chemistry type that gives a weird side effect, and it's documented, they have to list it in the disclaimer, which is why all these commercials are so freaking weird, because part of the commercials are listing the benefits or whatever drug it is, but the other part of the commercial is just the legal parts, which is listing all the side effects, and they rattle them off really fast, and they say it in a real monotone voice, and they try to rip through it real fast at the end, so maybe you won't catch all of it, and the risk will be worth it. And a lot of people still take the drugs because they consider their condition, they're willing to deal with the side effects, which I think is ridiculous in a lot of cases. Dennis Miller, the comedian slash actor slash producer slash all sorts of things, sports commentator, he had a great line. His monologues were just wonderful anyway. His writing was fantastic. But he had a line in his monologue that said something to the effect of, why would people take a drug whose side effects read like a book of witches' spells? and I just howled when I first heard that. It's so true. And for that, what I'm gonna do at the end of this video here, as soon as I'm done talking, which will be shortly, is I'm gonna throw up a commercial on the video which gives you what I'm talking about, and that is there was a because I watch the commercials every once in a while, and I'm not really paying attention when a drug commercial comes on, but in the background every once in a while I'll listen to the side effects, and there was this one drug called Abilify, which again, it shows you how far we take it. It wasn't an antidepressant. It was an antidepressant booster. So you're already on antidepressants and they're not doing it for you. Again, like depression is a real big thing for you. I don't really treat that as a disease. It's just my personal opinion. It's like, look, there's got to be a natural way to become happier other than trying to take drugs. Everyone's into their escapism thing. I get that. We'll cover that on different segments. But anyway, there was this drug called Abilify, and the commercial was basically saying, if you're already on an antidepressant and it's not working for you, depression's still creeping up on you, take this booster, and this booster will work with your antidepressant and make it, and maybe you'll snap out of it, become less depressed. And the side effects for this thing were beyond what, it takes the Book of Witches Spells from Dennis Miller, that reference, it takes it, just throw that out the window, because these side effects are the most horrible things I've ever heard of. Starts off with possible death, possible paralysis. I mean, there was another one said like another thing. They didn't even. In fact, there were several things that resulted in death, straight up death. That they couldn't even say death enough times, so they changed it up and said life-threatening condition, which basically means death. And it's like all these things, increased your risk of suicide to such a degree that it's like. I was just the side effects. You're listening to this thing and you're going, and they're doing it to a cartoon. It's not like they're even using real people. They're kind of like Disneyfying it and making it sound way worse or way less severe than it is. But watch it a couple times when you get to the part where they start listening to side effects. I'll play the whole commercial. You'll just be amazed at what they're doing there. Anyway, the point is, Big Pharma takes things too far. Always have, always will. They were the ones that were selling people heroin and cocaine and drugstores, and they will sell anything that they can until a class action lawsuits, unless the side effects are so bad, like people are overdosing on cocaine or overdosing on heroin and dying. When the side effects result in lawsuits, those lawsuits will generally stop them. It's always about money. We'll end this on the Fight Club reference. It's like why all these corporations, especially Big Pharma, they take it too far. The Fight Club was talking about car recalls and about how if there was a part in a recall that caused the car to crash, there might be a class action lawsuit. So what they do is they take the cost of the recall and they compare it to the cost of a class action lawsuit. If the cost of the lawsuit is, or the end settlements, if that cost of the settlements is less than the cost of a recall, they don't do a recall. It's just business. So there you go. Take it for what it is, and always look at corporations that are out there with with open eyes and a little bit of suspicion. Anyway, thanks very much, guys, and we'll talk to you next.
Here's
segment.
me, and here's my depression. Before I started taking Abilify, I was taking an antidepressant alone. Most days I could put on a brave face and muddle through, but other days I still struggled with my depression. I was managing, but it always had a way of creeping up on me. I felt stuck. I just couldn't shake my depression, so I talked to my doctor. He said adding Abilify to my antidepressant could help with my depression, and that some people had symptom improvement as early as 1 to 2 weeks. He also told me about a free trial offer from Abilify. Now, I feel more in control of my depression.
Abilify is not for everyone. Call your doctor if your depression worsens or if you have unusual changes in behavior or thoughts of suicide. Antidepressants can increase these in children, teens, and young adults. Elderly dementia patients taking Abilify have an increased risk of death or stroke. Call your doctor if you have high fever, stiff muscles, and confusion to address a possible life-threatening condition, or if you have uncontrollable muscle movements, as these could become permanent. High blood sugar has been reported with Abilify and medicines like it. In some cases, extreme high blood sugar can lead to coma or death. Other risks include decreases in white blood cells, which can be serious, dizziness upon standing, seizures, trouble swallowing, and impaired judgment or motor skills.
Depression used to define me. Then my doctor added Abilify to my antidepressant. Now, I feel better.
If you're still struggling with depression, talk to your doctor to see if the option of adding Abilify is right for you, and be sure to ask about the free trial offer.